Nicola Sturgeon was accused of jeopardising human rights after an expert argued her SNP cares more about the idea of Scotland than its people. First Minister Ms Sturgeon is currently grappling with a rapid increase in coronavirus cases in Scotland. She is said to be considering more extreme measures to curb the virus spread, as 2,464 new cases were recorded. Writing on Twitter, she told Scots, "All decisions just now are tough, with tough impacts. Vaccines give us way out, but this new strain makes the period between now and then the most dangerous since start of pandemic." Many have hit out at Ms Sturgeon's position of the pandemic as being below par. Writing for The Scotsman, former Scottish Labour politician Brian Wilson said the First Minister and her government were dodging key questions about how they had mishandled the situation. Dodging questions appears to be a characteristic that critics of Ms Sturgeon and the SNP have repeatedly highlighted in previous years. Since 2015, when the SNP won a historic landslide general election victory north of the border, she and her party have exercised almost absolute control over Scotland. Professor Adam Tompkins from the University of Glasgow and an MSP for Glasgow, in a 2015 The Conversation piece said this level of unprecedented control has put the human rights of Scots in jeopardy, adding that to the SNP, the freedom of the nation matters much more than the freedom of the people who inhabit it. He said this had manifested in the form of pressure on institutions like the BBC when reporting on the SNP for fear of being branded anti-Scottish, and a tightening on academic freedoms. Discussing how the SNP had shrunk Scotland's police force to one which is accountable to a board appointed directly by Scottish ministers, Professor Tompkins said, "A similar move is underway with regard to Scotland's universities, where SNP ministers are seeking to exert unprecedented controls. Wither academic freedom in Scotland? With angry mobs descending on the BBC when the broadcaster dares to run news stories critical of the SNP administration, political freedom in Scotland can feel precarious. SNP ministers may say they oppose any attempt to alter the UK's human rights laws, but, at the same time, the human rights of Scots are repeatedly jeopardised by SNP policy. Very little of this is understood outside of Scotland.